Welcome, welcome to AEC Unplugged. I'm your host, Danielle Gray, and as always, I'm so excited to be here. We are this is episode three. We've had two episodes so far. We were able to talk about email, design, we've talked about wellness, we've talked about quite a few things in only two episodes. So it only makes sense that we continue and keep it going. And actually, this week it's a double feature. So we have a LinkedIn Live today. We also have one tomorrow, and that will be about building relationships. But before I go too far with that, I do want to remind people, I know it can be hard to find the LinkedIn Live episodes. We are adding all of those to the SMPS YouTube. So if you are not subscribed, subscribe to the SMPS YouTube and you'll be able to watch all of the episodes there. Let's see here. What else do I want to say? I think that's it. I think it's just time to start with our panel. So today's panel, we're actually going to be talking about finding the value of AI. And if you were a part of the AEC.AI conference in LA this past week, so much information, so many X's and O's, so many things, and we're not doing that today. We are actually going to be talking about a very high level conversation about the value. That's where we want to focus on. And if this is your first time joining, this is about intimate conversations about our industry, about the strategies, insights, and trends, and all of that. So that's what this is about. I'm excited for you to be here with us. So let's introduce our guest today, our panel. So first, we have Rohan Jawali, founder of CEO of Joist AI. Then we have Josh Fritz, data scientist, Leo A. Daily. We have Kristin Kautz, principal, Jam Idea Agency. And we have Sarah Strauss, senior associate at LAN. Thank you all for joining.
Thanks for having us.
Yes, for sure. So we're talking about AI today. There's so much conversation about AI. I don't know, I almost feel like people are just putting AI on everything just so people can jump in. But instead of going straight into the AI part, I actually want to go a different route, which is I want to start with humans. Right. So what is the value of humanity? In other words, what's something that humans can do that AI can't replace? So, Sarah, I'm actually going to start with you with that one. What's the value of humanity? I know that's a really big,
yeah. My thought mulling this over was an emotional either response or understanding of intent. But there's a way that humans pick up on certain things, body language, other things where you can read between the lines and be able to react to something in an emotional way and respond accordingly, where I think, maybe AI will get there, but for the time being, that's the human, I guess, benefit compared to AI, in my opinion.
Thank you. What about you, Kristin? What are your thoughts about that?
I'm serious. I read this question and I was like, do not ask me this question.
We should have talked about this.
Okay. Well, this is what we're here for in life.
Yes,
right?
yes.
So you said the value, like what's the value of humanity and what's something that humans can provide that can never be replaced by AI? I'm like, I think everything can be replaced by AI, actually. So I would say the value of humanity right now is TBD, to be determined. We have been the superior alpha species on the planet and trying to figure out we are creating something that is smarter than we are, that is more creative, more productive, given those parameters. So I think it's to be determined, but I think humanity is hopefully going to evolve to be self-aware enough that we will have an answer to that question sometime in the future. Because I was going to say relationships, but no, there are the 1950s, 1960s, there was somebody already using AI as a psychiatrist in the 1960s. So if that's a relationship, I don't care how you define it. So TBD.
TBD. Understood. Josh, Rohan, any other thoughts about the value of what humans bring to this conversation?
Creativity is something that at this point in time, AI doesn't have the ability to. So Kristin's right. Maybe one day it'll be able to be creative and think outside the box, but right now it's purely data driven. So creativity is a big human only element at this juncture.
Hey, I like that.
I agree with pretty much everything, right? I mean, if you think about it, humans are creating programs which are essentially AI.
Mm-hmm.
So creativity, the empathy behind making decisions, behind doing certain things certain way, the nuances is where humans bring value. And I think in a grand scheme of things, that's where we will be irreplaceable moving forward.
Yeah, I feel that way too. I actually wrote, it was in one of the SMPS marketer must reads, and it was about like, the idea of humanity and not losing it. I definitely have the feeling with Josh as far as what I have seen AI create, and obviously there's so much growth that's happening and things that we don't even know where they're happening. But I really like the idea that there may be some things that AI can produce for me from what has already happened, but for things that are new and nuanced and creative ideas, I like to think that humans have that ability and just overall empathy. So I think that that's definitely a superpower that I always speak to. Because nobody's replacing me. I'm like, no, I'm not, it's not happening, hopefully. So, but these are really great thoughts. So I want to move to the actual conversation. I'm curious about each of you and how you kind of came to AI. Like, how did you land here, right? You all, and for those that are joining, this is actually the full panel that you'll be seeing at Amplify AEC when we're talking about AI. So this is some real, I would say, not behind the scenes of what's going to be happening. So how did you find or recognize the value and power of AI, Kristin?
Oh, well, I've always been interested in digital hacks, digital tech, trying to bring anything to this industry that's outside the norm, looking outside of our industry for ideas. And obviously, I'm not the only one. When ChatGPT hit the mainstream in November of 2022, I was like, what's this? And I was interested, and I put it into an SMPS presentation I was giving.
Volume minimum.
When it hit, somebody mentioned at a conference earlier that this was the first time that, obviously, like I said, it's been around since the 1950s, but it's the first time that somebody could actually log into it, or it was accessible to me. And then it was just all over with the shouting. So my answer is November of 2022.
Wow, and that's so recent, right? And so much has changed. It's 2024, and it's like a completely different ballgame. Josh, when did you find the power of AI? When did it come to you that this is something really big?
So mine was about a decade ago, actually. I used to work for the railroad, and one of the data scientists on my team was building an experimental modeler for predicting derailment personality ratings for engineers and conductors. So they were profiling engineers and conductors on who would cause derailments, and they scaled them across all the derailments. And as one of the safety managers for derailment prevention, seeing that fascinated me. And that's actually one of the reasons that drove me down to get my data science degree from Northwestern. And it was unbelievable how accurate it was.
Wow. Yeah, I think that's so interesting that this is a decade. We're talking about a lot of different times. Rohan, what's your timing on this?
I would go back a decade ago as well. We are building a very large healthcare campus here in San Diego, and a couple guys showed up from Silicon Valley like, hey, we're going to fly this drone on your job site, and the drone will fly by itself and it will do its job. And I was just amazed that a machine can essentially fly itself, capture the data, process the data, figure out the obstacles, and just do its job without human interference. Was amazing, right? It opened a world door of imagination for me. Like, this is possible, so anything is possible. And of course, when we started building Joist, I came across these language models, and what they can do and what they can achieve was just mind-blowing from my perspective.
That's so interesting. I wasn't planning to ask everybody this question, but I'm genuinely interested. Sarah, how did you come across this? What was your moment?
Mine's definitely much more recent. AI to me a decade ago was a movie. It was, or, some very high tech stuff that wasn't applicable to my daily life. I work for a civil engineering company, and so I knew some of the engineers had been using it, but I still didn't really think it was anything applicable to me until, FSMPS started talking about it. And I actually, Kristin was talking about it, and then ChatGPT came so, I don't know, mainstream.
Yeah.
And I started using it to help. I work on proposals, and I work with engineers writing very lengthy narrative that's not concise, that's in passive voice. And I took a block of it and I put it in ChatGPT, and I asked it to condense and write it in active voice. And what it did in a matter of seconds is something it would have taken me minutes to do, for a 50-page document. And that's when I realized how efficient it can be and how applicable it really is to our industry. And I just started paying more attention through FSMPS, and now really find the value of it specific to our industry and our work.
That's so interesting. I believe I'm pretty close to where you all are, which is pretty recent. I think it was like, oh yeah, there's AI out there, and then ChatGPT was just immediately available and saw the power of it. So I was immediately intrigued. And specifically, as we're talking about it in this conversation, I think Sarah, you said some really interesting things about how do I use it in my work, and how does this work within the AEC industry? And that's really the focus that even this show is about, but also Amplify in general. How this is all great, but how do we actually apply it within our industry? So thank you all for sharing. I was genuinely curious about that question. Did not want to ask it beforehand. So now, what I'm seeing here, we were at AEC.ai talking about the conference last week, and you have a lot of different feelings about AI that are coming across. There's people like, I don't know what I'm doing. This feels like a lot. Others are 100% in. What do you say to people, or I'll say to firms, what should they be considering as they're embracing AI? Like, what's the approach? How should they be approaching this? Josh, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yes, I would say that it needs to align with your business objectives and values. And just using a tool to use a tool isn't really the right thing to do. But if you use it to augment or enhance a business process that you're doing, you're going to find a lot more success and definitely more buy-in from your upper management.
Which is kind of necessary. I think buy-in is really big. We talked about policy. We talked about so many different things. And I was like, okay, these are good things. What about you, Rohan? What should firms be thinking about as they approach this?
I think the firms need to take a tactical approach when it comes to finding values and augmenting the capabilities of humans in general. I feel like AI in general is quickly leveling the field for everybody. So understanding the firm-wide strengths and weaknesses, and where we can essentially augment the weaknesses and help people out to do more with less, is quite important. Again, it's really important that firms find that balance between leveling the playing field.
And so, because I always think about there's firms, but there's people at these firms. So there's like the big ideas. So Kristin, when somebody tells you, I don't know about this. This isn't really, I don't really need to know about AI. What do you tell those people?
Such a good question, because actually you said what's changed in the past year and a half, right? I was thinking about it this morning that we're almost, I know I'm speeding forward, but we're almost 2 years into AI ChatGPT right now. So even last year, I was talking to presidents of large architecture firms, large construction firms, and they would say, Rohan's already heard me talk about this. They would say, don't talk to me about it. I don't want to do it. I don't want to use it. We're going to keep doing it the way we've always been doing it. And at that time I was like, okay, full stop. Like I can't help you at this point. You are so closed at the moment. Like I can't turn my attention to help everybody in this scenario. So I'm going to let you go for right now. I have changed my mind a little bit when people are in front of me and I'm speaking. I know they're interested in AI. They're there for a reason, right? People on this call are here for a reason. You're obviously interested in it somehow. And I would say to the people in our audience who don't want anything to do with this or are unsure, might be pushed into an early retirement because they choose so. That's a whole nother discussion over cocktails. I would say to those people, you don't have to use AI, but you can't stop your firm from using it. You cannot be the stop sign. You cannot be the stop sign for your firm. You have to figure out a way. And then there are ways that we can get older people, anyone who doesn't want to be involved in it. There's a place for everybody in AI, whether you want to use it or not. You're still a knowledge source that we can help to train a model. So everyone has a place. That's the first thing. I'm going to go back. Josh, I agree with both of the things that Rohan and Josh said. I would also say to the firms out there who are thinking about this, I mean, there are lots of questions to ask before we start down this road. But I would also say, if you are looking at people in your firm to identify as your AI leader at the moment, and they already have a full-time job and they're busy, don't do it. Don't do it. You're not going to move forward. This is too important to assign as a hobby to an engineer or an architect that already has a full-time billing job. AI is not a hobby. It is not a secondary job. It is not an add-on job. It's a full-time job. So those are my two things.
I have I want to go back really quick. I was talking to someone who spent over like 35 years in the industry, and I was asking like, hey, why did you decide to go adopt AI? And their answer was, it creates a forever internal brain for me. What we created 30 years ago, there's no way I can remember things, but now I can just quickly ask questions and go find things out. So like, why should people use it is essentially, you create that context and bring that context back to life.
Yeah. I appreciate that, because that's really true. And Sarah, you work within a firm. What's your experience with how it's being accepted? Without giving too much information, obviously, but what's your experience being within a firm?
Well, I think the joke for, a while was, oh, ChatGPT will just, drive proposal people out of business, but knowing that really wasn't the case, right?
Mm-hmm.
But again, understanding what was actually out there and applicable to us, once we identified Joist, it made a huge difference in what my proposal team is spending their time on. And so just like Rohan was saying, a lot of times we pull materials from old proposals, or there's several different places where information is stored. We have a Deltec database, we have old proposals, we have a boilerplate library. That's all in one place now. And so if someone starts the company tomorrow, there's years worth of proposal data in Joist that they can very easily access. And so a learning curve for a new person is reduced, and we're not spending the same amount of time trying to locate information. That I don't have numbers, but I know my team's sanity and their mental health has improved because they are not racking their brains trying to remember where they included something. They just type what they need into Joist. The relevant information pops up, and then we can use the chat function to take it further, or we can copy and paste it as is. And so we can now focus on messaging and differentiators and value propositions instead of finding stuff. And so, really understanding the different AI tools that are out there, because there's probably something for anybody. Using ChatGPT, the free version of it's not going to help you. So taking the time to understand those tools and those options through something like FSMPS and other organizations has really made a difference in the productivity, and well-being of my team.
I appreciate you saying that. Something that stuck out to me, and somebody told me this, and I was like, oh, wow, didn't think of that, is your brain is for thinking, not storing. So if there's a way to avoid that and just be able to think and do what you were, I go really deep. I go into purpose and things like that. But, what we are meant to do strategically, our actual tasks that really take our brain power. Wow. How much energy would we save and time would we save if we were to just do that? So thank you for that. That was really good insight. So when we were talking, and by the way, anyone that is watching, we had a bit of a pre-call, and there were so many different ideas about how do we want to talk about AI? It's such a big topic. So I'm interested in the idea of AI as a differentiator, because we are in a competitive business. Kristin, how do you see AI as a differentiator for a firm?
So just gave a speech last week on this very topic. So love that. I'm looking at Sarah. That was a perfect segue to this question. Sarah just described how it's a differentiator for her team, for her firm. We talk a lot about AI being able to reclaim somebody's time. I believe that to be true 100%. Not 100% of your time right now, but a huge majority of your time. But I believe that statement to be true 100%. So when you get your time back, Danielle, if we want to sit around thinking to our best capability, then that's what we're going to be able to do. And then you are your own differentiator. Then when your firm reclaims time, what are they going to spend that reclaimed time on? A lot of people out there say just more work, right? That's one way. But we also bring up the bigger topics. If a firm reclaims time across the year because they're using AI tools, maybe we're going to have the chance to actually get to know our clients better, be more customized, not value engineer out our best ideas. I want to see better architecture. I want to see better engineering. I want to see materials that are sustainable, truly sustainable in the entire buying process. Like, where do we get our materials from? You know what I mean? So again, when you ask a question, I say this all the time, like you ask a question here and it's like this little thing, but it extrapolates out to 100 different things. So it's hard to keep going back and forth between like, here's a small answer, here's the big answer. My point is, we're going to reclaim our time, and that will be a differentiator. How you spend this reclaimed time is your personal differentiator, how you move forward in your career, personally, professionally. And then for our firms, we have really smart people in this. I mean, wickedly smart people and very creative people. If they were actually given time to think, what could we do? The possibilities are endless. And so I love Sarah's answer about her team. That is very definitive, that they get to think differently about now what they're actually doing during their day. So
no, I love that. And I agree. I feel like that's at least what I've seen, or the biggest thing is time.
Yeah.
And is there any other thoughts about anything other than time? Because that's something I'm like, I don't know if there's much, if we're talking big picture. Rohan, Josh, any other thoughts on differentiator for AI?
Go, Josh.
I was going to say the freedom. So Kristin mentioned it, the freedom to actually be better than what you're currently doing. So if you're saving 60, 70, 80% of your time by doing less mundane tasks that you don't want to do anyways, now you get to spend more time on doing the things that you love. And that's going to show in your work, and it's going to increase your productivity. It's going to increase your throughput, and it's going to ultimately make the company better. And while it's a personal decision, it's still going to be an improvement overall for that role in that company.
Can I keep going for a second?
Sure.
Okay. So piggybacking off of Josh as well. So if you're looking at how a firm is a differentiator with AI, in theory, which is also actually theory versus reality is kind of a gray area right now. But there are a lot of things that we can do with AI at the moment. And one of the ones that I like to think about for a firm is this. We are a people-driven industry. And when you ask a firm what makes you different, they say sometimes the same things, we're under budget, we're on schedule. It's like, great, check the box. And then they're like, our people make us different. And how do we quantify that? How do we actually describe how people make our firms different with AI? Because if it's truly the intelligence or the personality or the tone of a person, and if we actually capture that and put that into an AI model, then we are going to be able to quantify in our firms are differentiators. People will be not plugged in. I'm not talking about the weird Elon Musk, chips and stuff, or cords. I'm really talking about information and your legacy information that Rohan talked about. When you get that into a firm's AI model, that's a differentiator. Your differentiator is going to be the intelligence, the collective intelligence, wisdom, legacy, history of everyone in your firm. That's a differentiator. So
Absolutely.
you can talk about time right now. Danielle, don't knock it. Time is something that we can't generate more of. And when we get it back, it's awesome. And AI does that right now for us. It shortly in the future, differentiators are going to be, well, what's in your AI model? And it's going to be your people's experience.
It's funny when Kristin was talking about the movie that came to my mind was Limitless, Bradley Cooper's movie that talks about improving the memory 10%. And that's exactly what you're doing. You're bringing so much context together at your fingertips that you can be so much effective, and speed to market could be 10x faster.
Yeah. Rohan, have you seen the movie Lucy?
Yes.
I was thinking that too. Using 100% of your brain.
Your brain is, yeah. So AI just helps us, even if it helps us use 5% better of our brain, we are infinitely better. So infinitely better.
I'm so glad you used that movie reference. That's what we're here for. I want the behind the scenes stuff. I think that seeing this, especially when you talk about time, Kristin, you're right. I mean, that's something that you can't give that away. So in the ability to be better. So look, we're moving and grooving through this great panel. I hope everyone's enjoying as we are. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to write under this video. But what I want to do is I want to wrap this up with words of wisdom. And that's what I've been doing with all of the episodes so far is, people feel a lot of different ways about this. And I want you all to be able to share something that hopefully can stick with someone so that they can potentially embrace this or embrace whatever this next chapter is. So I'll start with Sarah. Words of wisdom, and it can be definitely from your standpoint and being inside of a firm too.
Yeah, I would just, like I said before, there's tools out there that can actually benefit you. And so my words of wisdom are to use, FSMPS and other resources to really educate yourself on what's available. And when we connected with Rohan and discovered Joist, it's every proposal person's dream. I've been doing this for 13 years. Some members of my team longer than me. Some members of my team are, very junior to the role. And we just couldn't believe something like this was really out there and was so beneficial for us. So, maybe Joist is right for you. Maybe it's something else, but it's take the opportunity to learn about what's out there because there is something that can benefit you and your team or your company for sure.
That's great. Josh, what would your words of wisdom be?
I'm going to use something that I use in the military a lot, and it's stay hungry. And with AI, challenge yourself to be uncomfortable and learn about what's out there and use it to learn about what's out there. If you were to use a GPT model of some sort, you can ask it questions and then you can validate those answers, and you're going to grow quicker than if you were to try and do that type of work yourself via like a Google search or anything like that. So that would be my response, is stay hungry and always learn.
Love that. Kristin, what would yours be?
I just wrote a post on LinkedIn this morning and it called reject the noise. Reject the noise. If somebody that you're following on your feed or in a presentation is not giving you context or description or real answers, then don't follow them anymore. I'm being very, black and white here, but it is true. There's so many people out there talking about what Danielle said is AI or maybe not even AI. But if they're not giving you context, if you leave a post or a presentation going, I don't understand what I just heard or saw, then don't follow those people anymore. And in the other side of that equation, this is a group of people you may follow. I tagged Rohan in mine, and I'm going to tag Josh and Sarah as well. Also, one of the questions you were going to ask was tools for proposals, BD, and sales. I'll be talking about this twice at Amplify, but you can email me or connect with me on LinkedIn. I have a list of about 300 tools right now, all sorted out into marketing, sales, and BD. Email me, I'll give it away for free. I like people who don't gatekeep. So just get started.
Love it. Love 300 tools. And I know there's many more, and that's the crazy.
I need only for marketing, BD, and sales. My Notion site has 3,000 and something tools, but this is specifically tools that I've tried in marketing. So your audience is probably marketing. But what I'm saying is, if you reach out for help to someone and they're like, no, or it's so vague, you don't get it, move on. Call me. I will give you everything I've got.
I love that. No gatekeeping.
No gatekeeping.
That's the way it should be. It should be that way.
Yep.
So Rohan, we'll close out with you. What are your words of wisdom for people?
I would say go tap into Kristin's database, because that's going to be pretty important. If you think about
go call Rohan for Joyce. It's amazing.
Right.
But if you think about the growth professionals in an industry, they're mission critical for their business growth, right? And the faster they themselves grow personally, it's better for the business in the grand scheme of things. So be curious, willingness to learn, trial and error. Those are quite important, to tap into the future.
Thank you all. This was so great. It did go very fast. So much great information. And what I want to say, if you're watching, please see these people in person. I know we're talking about AI and virtual and all those things, but it does matter. So we will be in Salt Lake City in July. They will be on the main stage. So please make sure to register if you haven't already. There's still some hotel spots there. All of those things are still there. So join us at amplifyaec.org for more information. And thank you all so much for joining. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes.
You can't wait to see you in person.
Yes. So what I'll do now is close with one. I'm so glad that we have these discussions and we can talk to humans about these AI initiatives and all the trends that are coming. And I would say, really piggyback on what's already been said. Stay curious, be brave, don't be afraid, and know what your personal your values are and where you stand and what you can bring to the table. So be very strong in that. And I'm just happy to be here. So all that being said, we have a double header. So if you are interested in watching tomorrow, it will be 2 p.m. Eastern. We're going to be talking about building relationships. And I think that's it. Stay tuned for more. And thank you so much for watching. Bye.